Hey fantasy fans, welcome back. It's Dan here with TreeBeard Book Reviews, and today we're not looking at a fantasy book, we're looking at a sci-fi book, and we started The Expanse. So today we're looking at Leviathan Wakes. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. Again, thank you guys so much. I hope you're enjoying this content. I'm really looking forward to talking about The Expanse today. I do come out with a video every Tuesday and Saturday, so please check those out. They come out around 11 a.m. EST. Also, please hit me up on the Discord. I do have a Discord channel. The link is below. The Discord is slowly growing. More people are getting in there and discussing books and talking with me and talking with other just people who love books and other booktubers too. So great way to just connect and just have about books. So again, guys, please like and subscribe. And we're going to talk about Leviathan Wakes. So again, everything in my videos here, it's all my opinion. Take it for whatever it is. This is what I thought about the book. And, this is the first book in the series, first book in The Expanse. I do have two copies here, so this one and the 10th anniversary edition. I'm gonna do like the same kind of video where we talk about the plot. I'm not gonna be spoilery there. We're gonna get into the good and the bad, and then my ranking. So I will say if there's a spoiler in the good or the bad section, but the first thing I talk about the plot and not really ruin it for anyone, and why they should really kind of read The Expanse. So let's get into the plot of Leviathan Wakes. Alright, so Leviathan Wakes, this book starts off with it's kind of like an open space crawl in a sense that you're first met with Julie Mao, and she's been captured. Her ship has been commandeered and taken over, and she's been stuffed into a locker, and she's being kidnapped essentially. And eventually she escapes from her kidnappers or breaks free from her confinement, and that she finds that the ship she's on is deserted and empty, and she's been left in space, for dead, really. And so when we leave Julie, and then it really opens up, and then you start meeting the crew of the Canterbury. So the Canterbury is as an ice hauler, and so everything in The Expanse is set in the Milky Way, not the Milky Way galaxy, in our solar system. So Earth through to Neptune, everything's happening in our solar system. And so you meet the Canterbury, the crew of the Canterbury, with James Holden, and he is the executive officer on the Canterbury, and the Canterbury is an ice hauler. It's picking up big shards of ice from the ring of Saturn and hauling it back to the asteroid belt, to the belt, to turn it into liquid water. So what happens is when the Canterbury is making its trip back from Saturn, it comes upon a distress signal, and there's rules in this universe where if there is a ship that's come out with a distress signal and you are the closest ship, you have to go answer the call. So they Holden and a small crew that contains Amos, Shed, Naomi, and Alex, they depart on a little inspection craft, a little craft to go and inspect what this beacon was that was being sent out by this ship that was in trouble. And so as they're going to investigate that, the Canterbury gets attacked by a stealth Martian vessel and is destroyed. The Canterbury is destroyed. Holden and his crew are watching this happen, and Holden, comes on the intercom and says the Martians have just attacked the belt, the Belters. So I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. And then the last thing you meet, the next thing that happens is you get introduced to a character called Miller. So Miller's kind of, he's like a divorced, aged, drunken cop. He's like cynical. He's really, not at rock bottom, but he's been kind of, in this book, he's been charged with finding Julie Mao. So the character you met at the beginning of the book, he has really been sent on a mission by her parents, who are wealthy, to go and find her and bring her back. And on this backdrop of this war that is now going to be happening between the Belt and the Martians. So let me just kind of break down this universe a little bit. So there's these three main factions you encounter in this book, and you meet the Earthers, who are, obviously they're born on Earth and then have traveled out into space and whatever jobs they're doing. The Martians, so Mars is a massive colony where there's like millions of people living on Mars. It's been terraformed. And then there's the Belters. So the Belters are inhabitants who are born in low gravity, born in the asteroid belt. There's a series of like colonies out there, like Tycho, Eros, Ceres, and then there's also other little stations on like Saturn, Phoebe. It's so cool. There's so many, like it's so cool, like just to see how humanity has grown into our solar system and expanded upwards of like Neptune, I believe, is the farthest base. So there's like 5,000 inhabitants. But this is a really interesting book. It's a really character-driven book, so I will talk about some of this stuff on the good. There will be some spoilers, but just kind of give us a preface here. Like, this book, I would describe it as like a space opera meets detective, private eye novel, and with a little aspects of horror in it. So it's a really interesting read, guys. I haven't really watched any videos on Leviathan Wakes or The Expanse. Haven't watched the show. I don't know anything about the show. And so I kind of went in this totally fresh, didn't know what to expect. And it was a really interesting ride, and it kept me compelled. It's a very character-driven book. I don't think it's a plot-driven book as much as, most books would be. It's really character-driven, and that's mainly because the two POVs you're with is Holden and Miller. Very, very intriguing book. Just the science in the book, the ships in the book, the feeling you get in the book. It's a really, stick around for my rating at the end, guys. If you don't want to see any spoilers, I'll try to keep the rating at the end spoiler free. So yeah, that's really The Expanse. It's like space opera within our own solar system. Humanity has expanded. Humanity's got these amazing ships, and just the science and the travel. It's really fun, and the distinct societies you meet. It's really good. I'm going to talk about all this in the good. So if you guys don't mind spoilers, again, I will put a spoiler warning when there is a spoiler that comes up. So let's go talk about what I liked about Leviathan Wakes. Alright guys, so let's talk good. What's so good about this book? So there's really things I want to highlight. The three things I really want to talk about are the characters. Really good character work in this book. The setting and like the cultures you meet in this book, and then the science and the spaceships, because it's a science fiction book, and so I need to talk about that. So first, let's talk about the characters. There's some really good character work in this book. This is like, I've definitely found that I'm a character-driven reader, and this book really kind of did that for me. Like, I've read, like, as you know, I like Wheel of Time. Like, the plot can be loosey-goosey in that sometimes. It's a bit all over the place, and there's bits where it drops off in the plot. And this one for me, again, there was a plot. The plot was like, it was this big overarching plot, and but it was really kind of focused on the characters, and then the character work and what the characters were internalizing. So a lot of the plot is background kind of noise that's happening, and there is this one vein of the plot that I will talk about in the good too. So, but the characters I want to talk about, the notable characters I want to talk about are Miller, Detective Miller, James Holden, Naomi, and Amos. So there's a few things there's some of the character stuff is gonna be in the bad, like minor stuff, but that's more of a personal thing for me. I'll talk about that later. So Miller. Really liked Miller. He's just like this, not down on the, like, he's just like cynical. He's just like, he's seen the worst of people. Like, he's a belter. So the belter, like, I guess to describe what a belter is. So the belters are like usually all over 6 feet because they were born in low gravity. So they got like long gangly limbs and like big heads. So it's almost typical like what an alien would look like in a sense if an alien looked humanoid. And so. That's the one thing, like, yeah, Miller was really good. He had this internal monologue kind of running the whole time in the form of, okay, so there's going to be a spoiler here. So You know, Miller just kind of really attaches himself to Julie Mao, like kind of falls in love with her a little bit, which is a bit weird because he could be her father. Um, but like, yeah, she's like this kind of ghost that's following him around. That's like his internal monologue, and like is almost like his conscience, like on a like little devil on the shoulder kind of thing. Maybe not a devil, like Julie was an angel, really. But yeah, she was with him the whole time, and his banter with Julie, and then his relationships that he builds with these other characters. Like Miller was a very interesting character. He's I guess like he's like that true lawful neutral. Like just to bring in a D&D reference, like he's a true lawful neutral character. Like he's a cop, detective, believes in the law, but will do what he needs to do, like by his own. And maybe that wasn't even like lawful neutral. It's like lawful chaotic actually. Yeah, I would say he's probably lawful chaotic, where you know, he lives by his own code, and he will do what he thinks is right, and by his own moral compass. So, yeah, I really liked Miller. Miller was a badass in this book. Like when he was on Eros and he was just like pew pew, just like shooting up the place. Like he was great. Really loved Miller. Just great character work with him. Engaged with him through the whole book. And I guess to move on to the next POV character is James Holden. So James Holden, I like James Holden. It's more the characters around him that made me like Holden more. He's more of like that lawful good kind of character. I know I'm doing more D&D references. Whatever. He is. He's lawful good. So, you know, he's just like, he's got an interesting life. He's got like a weird background too. He's an Earther. He's from Earth. And, you know, he's got like 4 dads, 3 moms, and I guess he's like a genetically perfect human. Like he's just described as a pretty boy in the book, kind of a bit of a womanizer, really, because he's kind of slept with every woman on the Canterbury, it seems like. So, but he's like a very honorable character, you know, always wanting to do the right thing, a bit naive too. He's kind of got that honorable fool kind of thing about him, like almost like a Ned Stark character. But yeah, really liked Holden. Like he wasn't probably as interesting for me as Miller. He was still very good, and he had such a good supporting cast, and that kind of really leads into like Naomi and Amos. So these two characters, the two crew members of the Rocinante, their ship that they eventually get, very good. Like, oh man, like there's this okay, spoiler, there is this like love interest that's kind of hinted between Naomi and Holden at first, and she's kind of like, you know, you're a bit of a womanizer. You like, you see a woman and you just want to go straight after her, and you know, I've worked with you for 6 years and you've never looked at me until we've been put together in like close proximity. So but you know, she still is attracted to him and she has that attraction. But God, she was such a good character. She was so competent. She's one of those characters just like you trust her with everything. Like she's brilliant on the ball. Like she's an engineer. Like she's like a hero in this book. Naomi, like they would have died a million times over without Naomi. So loved her character. Like she's the like I guess she's the foil to Holden, because Holden's like this emotion. Like I guess he's emotional, but he's like the reckless kind of leader in a sense, and you know, flies by the seat of his pants a little bit. Whereas Naomi's that like calm, collected, like calculating, who really, you know, pairs with him super nicely. So good, Naomi. Such a good character. I hope we get a POV from her in like Caliban's War, because I really enjoyed her as a character. And then Amos. Wow, Amos. I said something in the Discord that Amos reminded me of Vincenzo from the movie Atlantis from Disney. I've put a picture up here somewhere. That's my picture. That's my headcanon for this character. This character is hilarious. Amos is so funny. Like he's like this. He's like pretty much like a grease monkey engineer who fixes the engine parts and stuff like that. But shit, his comedic timing and his just the way he swore, and he was just so good. He was a character you needed, because he broke the tension. As you have these two intense characters between like Alex and Naomi, and you needed a character like Amos to like cut through and break that tension. And he's kind of the guy who says like, well, that's effing weird. Like, I really liked him, and he was such a good character. And you know, he does have a dark past, and you don't really know about it. But and then when Miller meets Amos, like they can, you know, they both kind of recognize that in each other. So yeah, great characters in this book. So the next thing I want to talk about, that was probably long, but the next thing I want to talk about is the setting. Like, man, the setting, like this book made me feel claustrophobic. Like, I felt like I was in a spaceship, and you feel the walls around you like you're in, like, I'm sitting in a tin can. Like, it's just, you literally, you feel it. Like, you feel like, you know, space is an enemy. Like, space is almost like a bad guy in this book. Like, you can feel the space around you and how deadly it is. And you know, the two authors in this, James S.A. Corey is obviously a pen name for these two authors. I can't remember their names, but either way, they did such an amazing job at setting up the setting of these books, like in the ships, and the ships were excellent too, and like the science that they described, like you buy it instantly, like with the Epstein drives, like, yeah, totally believe it. And yeah, like, you know, the environment was harsh. Space is it's hostile environment, and they did such a good job. Like, it was so well described, and just all the stuff that they talked about. You know, with like how big the population of Earth, like 30 billion at this time. There's this massive colony on Mars, and then all the Belters living on the belts, and there was like this really cool society he built up with the Belters and like their lingo. Like, it was like a mix of like Rastafarian, like pseudo like Spanish, and like it was like a pigeon of like Rastafarian Spanish. It was really cool. Like I said, I haven't seen the show. I really want to see how they do Belter talk in the show, but shit, it was good. It was just, you had these distinct societies between the Belters, the Martians, and the Earthers, and it's so well done. Like, again, so like the societies are good, the setting is good. Like, you just feel like, oh, it's really good. And then the ships are sick. Like, the ships are so believable, and like how they travel. And I know I've heard like this is the most scientifically accurate and like, you know, sci-fi series where if we were going to do space travel, this is how we would do it. And like, you meet some really cool ships like the Canterbury and the Donager from the Martians, and then the Rocinante. That's the ship that Holden and his crew get, that he commandeers from the Martians. It's a frigate, like Corvette style ship. I'll try and put up a picture here from the show. Like, again, I haven't seen it. I'm just gonna find it off like wherever. And yeah, so good. Like the science, and even the stations. Like when, you know, Miller's on Ceres station, like doing the detective work, and they're describing all the levels and layers to it. And then eventually when they get to Eros, oh, so good. It's just everything about this. You know, you felt like you were in space. Like when I was sitting downstairs on the couch, I'm like, I'm floating in Ceres. Like, you know, I don't know, guys. It was this, you know, I can't scream enough about the good of this book. There are some negatives I want to touch on, so let's get into things that I didn't care for Leviathan Wake. Alright, guys, so let's talk about the things I didn't like about Leviathan Wakes. And it's really small. It's really going to be nitpicky, and it's more personal to like my own preference and my taste. That the things I had wrong with the book for me. There's nothing major, and it's just more literally personal preference. And so there's a few things that like just I didn't like with the characters in a sense. So the one thing with Miller that I wasn't too big of a fan of is like his just infatuation and love with Julie Mao, which doesn't make sense as a detective. Where, you know, he's like this grizzled, like veteran detective. He's like in his 50s. He's been in the police force for 30 odd years, and like the stuff he was doing to investigate Julie, like find out where she lived, find her background, that's normal detective work, right? So you know, you go find her friends, you look up, you read her emails, and do all this shit, break into her house, and like find all her notes, read her diary, kind of thing. That would be normal detective work, I would imagine, for like in this time. So he'd probably been doing this for 30 years and have done this in the past, and then he just like this one person, like in the now, like just sets him off, and you know, breaks like his detectiveness, right? You know, where he is just, it's just weird. I didn't, that part I didn't believe, where in a sense that, you know, this grizzled detective who has so much experience, and then, you know, after 30 years he just like breaks down over a missing person that he's like done all the normal investigative steps for. So that was the one thing. It's very minor, like, because, you know, Julie and his character are just so good together, so it's fine. It's just, it was just a minor gripe. I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. And then Holden, like, it's not that Holden's a great character. I just don't like that type of a character. Like, he's a lawful good character. Just kind of like a Ned Stark, just an honorable idiot in a sense. Like, will do the right thing, even if it's stupid. Like, you shouldn't do it. And I just don't like characters like that. And I that's why I've said before. Like, I really kind of resonate with, like, not evil characters, but like, you know, lawful chaotic or like neutral chaotic characters, because, you know, they have a code and they live by it. And I guess Holden has a code, but it's just, I don't know, he felt like he made some stupid choices in the end. But I don't know, other than that, like, he's a really good character. And I guess the other thing too is there are some horror elements in this book, and just the type of the horror that it was, like, it just didn't do it for me, and I just don't like that stuff. And it's just a personal preference, where like you see the proto molecule, and it like infects humans, and they all get like, and they transform humans, and like their rib cages are popping out, and it's all slimy and gross. That just grosses me out, and it just makes me like, oh, like, who, like, kind of thing, and I just don't like that. And so it wasn't overly, you're not dealing with that stuff like that much in the book, but just the thought of it, it's just kind of, it's meant to gross you out, and it's just like, I just didn't like that. It's kind of, it's just a personal preference. I don't do well with blood either, guys. I can't give blood because I'll just pass out. Like, I'll just pass out and faint. So that was just like another minor thing. That's just, again, a personal preference. And again, like, the plot's like super weak here. There was almost like a point where there's like, the book had like two endings in a sense, where they attack the station on, I think it's like Phoebe, no, not Phoebe Station, Thoth, where they attack the lab on Thoth, and they, you know, round up all the scientists there who were testing the protomolecule, and like, that could have been a good ending there for the book. And then it went on a little bit further, and then where they, you know, Miller and Holden are at the Arrow Station. And it just felt like there was two endings, like cold ending, and then another 100 pages left. It's like, I was reading this, I'm like, this is like the ending, and then there's another 100 pages left. So other than that, like, again, these are actually quite minor for me. Like, they're all personal kind of preference. So yeah, not a lot of bad things to say. So let's get into now my final rating for Leviathan Wakes. Alright guys, so I know this has been a long video. I've talked a lot, gushing about Leviathan Wakes. As you guys probably saw, I rated this a 4 on Goodreads. And like, as you know, my ratings don't work like that. I'm actually going to give Leviathan Wakes a 4.5 out of 5. Excellent book. So immersive. Great character work. Great, like, just great science. Great space book. Just loved, like, so many things about this book. Guys, if you're thinking about getting into the Expanse, don't hesitate. Just jump in. You know, I'm going to be watching the show. My wife wants to read this first before we start the show together, so I'm going to give her a chance to read it before I start the show, so can't wait to that. Hopefully I'll be done Caliban's War by the time she's done it, and I can continue on with the show. But yeah, that's my review of Leviathan Wakes. Very good book. Please pick it up. Please hit me up in the Discord. I'm going to be continuing with the Expanse. I have pre-ordered the last book, Leviathan Falls, so that I'll have my complete Expanse back here. Yeah, guys, great book. Read it. Again, thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.